Hi guys, Ryan Gill here with Hunt Primitive, and on this video we are going to make this Pedernales point out of a Pedernales tab. We're going to use all Antler and Stone Age tools, almost all. We got a one or two tiny little cheats that you're going to see, but other than that, it's going to be a heck of a build. It's going to be a long one, but it's going to be a good one. Hang with us, it's coming up right now. Alright, let's give it a rip and see how it goes. So I've got a Pedernales tab, if you're familiar with those. So what it is, it's basically these thin like little wafers of Pedernales, and I do have some of this on the website. I do have a finite amount. When it's gone, it's gone. I don't have a constant supply, but I got about 700 pounds or so. So you can go check that stuff out. But what's really kind of cool is I'm like, well, let's take a Pedernales tab, heat treated, make an Archaic Pedernales point, or at least we'll do the best job that we can on it. And I already kind of cleaned up this side and worked through it, and then I got that idea and I was like, well, you know what, such a pretty piece of rock, and it's kind of got like this purple hue to it almost, if you can see. It's kind of neat. So I was like, you know what, let's go ahead and do a video. Kind of feeling it today. It's Friday afternoon and it's raining out. I was in the middle of a bow project. We'll let the rain kind of stop, and we're just going to work with all Antler tools, all indigenous style tools, and just curious to see how that works itself out. Man, what a pretty piece of rock. So I'll set that one aside. A little arrowhead in that one. Try not to waste very much of it. That's what's interesting about these tabs is I think they used to be a lot more readily available, and I got this from a feller that's been collecting for a long time, and I don't know that you can just normally put your hands on them nowadays. I don't know. I don't see them come up for sale very often. So when it popped up, I was like, yeah, I'll just go ahead and get them, because I know people really like them. Because normal, like the Pedernales amoebas that we get that are round, I kind of wafer those out. You've probably seen me spall those in another video, and they're really nice. This stuff is usually a little bit more dense and glassy, and so they're kind of coveted. But then the trade-off with it is, instead of being able to take a piece and knock it into little wafers, you end up with these individual chunks. And although it's really good rock, you have a lot of these squared off edges you have to deal with. But not a big deal overall if you've seen the zigzag technique that we've talked about in so many of the other videos now, where we work a ways that way and then we flip over and just keep walking it around one platform all the way, worked to where all the square edges are gone. But yeah, it's kind of weird. It's got such a, hopefully you can really see it on the camera. It's like really purple. Pretty neat stuff. I like it. So hopefully we get a really nice point out of this one. Never really know. But I wanted to do it too with the Antler tools, because I've been doing so many point orders lately for business that just have to be done with the copper tools, that I haven't got to really slow down and enjoy indigenous knapping lately. But I figured, hey, it's Friday afternoon and it's raining. Next hour or so, it's my time. I'm going to do what I want to do, and this is what I want to do. So work this thing out for you all, and hopefully it turns out really well. So yeah, I think I got something like 48 arrowheads to do this month, on top of bows and arrows and knives and flint knapping kits and spalling and cooking rock and everything else. So we're keeping pretty darn busy. But man, that stuff is just, holy smokes, pretty. And usually they're not purple, but I just picked this one up kind of random and got into it. So you never really know, I guess, what you're going to get into when you pop open a rock. It's really glassy. And there we go. Almost all the way around. I got one little squared off spot. So now, if you are just joining me on my channel, this is your very first time here, then man, you got some catching up to do. But I have flint knapping for beginners. It's been a very popular video, and I've got a lot of really positive feedback on it for folks learning how to flint knap. So if hey, if you're watching this and that video helped you, drop a note down in the comments if that video helped you a lot on the flint knapping for beginners, because I got a lot of good feedback on that, and so I always want to keep sending people back there because it really breaks down the mechanics of flint knapping in general, especially with copper tools, which are going to be a little bit easier overall for you. Almost done, and that would explain too a lot of the thinning techniques and how I work around these edges. Almost done. Yep, there we go. Just about got a good cut on that one. I might have. Nope, it's good. Just some skin. Not a big deal. At least my skin's tough enough. It usually runs the cuts away. Got a couple layers of protection. Alright, now we can start trying to drive a fairly serious flakes. Nope, she does not want to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this rock because it's a little harder. And so by using the rock, I can build a platform like battering, essentially, where the antler is just not really quite hard enough in this case, but the rock is. So it's going to grab, and it really raised that platform heavily. I can show you. So here's where the platform was, and it's kind of right in the middle, and I needed to raise it. So then you can see how that rock, by chipping down this way, raised that platform up this side. Good, very good. There we go. Alright, that's a good one. Tell you what, I think I'm kind of far away. I'll bring you in a little bit closer and then really focus you in here on the point in itself that we're making. That was that flake I just removed right here, that big one. Really glassy stuff. Alright, I think it's a little bit better. And that is what my wife calls Byron the Bison. He's usually hanging out here. I'm hoping to, well, I'm definitely going to do it. It's just finding the time between all the orders and hunting season getting ready to starting. But I need to make some improvements on my shop, so I'm not going to have that blue wall behind me here too much longer. That's some shop blankets that are actually hung up to help insulate a little bit because it gets so dang hot down here. But fixing to put up some insulation, and I got the ceiling insulated so I can run an air conditioner, except for when I'm doing videos, because then y'all can't hear anything except for the air conditioner around. But gonna make some improvements, so hopefully you'll have a little bit better of a background. I can hang old Byron the Bison up on the wall somewhere. That'd be nice, right? Nice one there. I'm going to try. Man, I'm half tempted not to, unless I break the thing. I did see there was a freeze fracture somewhere, but I think it's worked out. Oh no, it's right there. There's a teeny tiny fracture. Let's see if we can see that right there. You see that? There's a fracture running in here, and I have a feeling we're either going to work it out, I think it's going to work out, or I'm going to end up cracking that thing, that base off, which is not a big deal either. But, well, I broke the other side. That makes it twice as funny, because that wasn't even the side with the fracture. But I want to start really removing some good material here. And that billet, I wasn't really feeling it today. Usually it's the go-to, but sometimes if you're just not really jiving with a tool, switch it up. And for whatever reason, I'm just not really working in harmony with that one today. It's a great tool, and I use it all the time, but not right now. Might come back to it. Right now, the hammerstone, aside from snapping that piece off, seems to be my best friend. That's where that fracture is. So if we bust it in half now, well, then we're going to have this a smaller one. Raise right up that platform. Brush that down. Alright, come on, baby. Let's run that cortex off there. Almost. Nope. Should have braided it up. That's that freeze line right there. Caught up with us, but it's okay because we kind of caught up with it too. That's that right there. Where's that freeze line? You can see what's left of it. No big deal. Pedernales point in general is usually not huge. It's pretty big and usually pretty thin. That's what I like about them, and this should be a good piece of rock to do it with if I can get my head screwed on straight. I probably just need some more flint knapping oil. Alright, there. Decent. Pretty decent. Maybe once we start getting this mass kind of work down, we'll be able to switch back to an antler. Because even brushing with this, it's like it's dense. Like this, I mean, it's rock. These Pedernales tabs are just like oddly more dense, and even though they're heat treated and they break really clean, really sharp, they're really hard, and they do have a reputation of being able to turn a point in and get it really, really thin and not snapping really easy, because it is a really hard rock. It's not very soft at all compared to some of the other Edwards varieties, which they're not necessarily soft, but comparatively to either Pedernales tabs or root beer, that you can get really thin. There we go. So the antler doesn't want to really cooperate on it as much as I'd like it to, because it's so hard. A lot of times, good kind of thing to keep in mind is if you're, most of the time if you have a really, really hard rock, we tend to think that softer, like antler tools work better on it, and that is the case sometimes, but sometimes you just can't even get it to move, because like as I'm grinding this down, what it's actually doing, it's removing about as much of the antler off as it is the rock. So I can't get it to remove, so that's why we have to use, when we're using percussion, then we're going to switch to the hammerstone, because I can at least get a little bit of headway. But as we finish it, try to get it thin, I don't think the hammerstone is going to be what we need. It's really bifaced out quite nice though overall, as you can see. One little fracture line where it broke off kind of smooth, gave me a 90 degree. I'm going to work that out quick. You know, you'll notice too, if you've been really following my videos, I switch back and forth quite a bit between whether I like freehand work like this or if I like lap napping, and I think sometimes you get almost bored with one, and you start making mistakes because it's not challenging you anymore, and then I start switching back around and using different techniques. In fact, using different techniques, let's try something. I haven't actually used a bigger moose billet for a while, so now it feels really weird. Let's see. That's not too bad. That's actually working pretty good. So sometimes just coming back to some old tools, it freshens it up, makes it fun, and your approach to the rock is that much different. That's like sometimes if I'm shooting a bow that I haven't shot for a really long time, and I'm just kind of not having a really good shooting day overall. Sometimes if I grab a bow that I haven't shot for a really long time, then I go out and shoot it, I will oddly enough shoot it really, really well. And it's just, it kind of brings a little bit of fun back in it. Well, there I busted that piece off more than I wanted to. Not the end of the world, but now our point just got even smaller, which stinks, but it happens. So sometimes, if you are in a slump and you're like, man, I know how to flint knap, but for whatever reason I can't do it, put it down and get something you haven't worked in a while. It kind of brings some fun back in it, and also makes you think a little bit more about how to make that tool work. So that's why we're giving this thing a fair shake at the moment. But I'm definitely wanting to try to run some longer flakes now, and I do want to go back to some freehand work here. I gotta stop a second, see if it starts. Yep, starting to bleed. That's alright, it's not bad enough to worry about. Go. Got that, flew right off and hit me right in the ankle. Okay. Oh, that sounded good. Yes, sir. Beautiful thin one right there, right across it. That's what we like to see. Okay. Not gonna be in a rush. Yeah, that's hard. And that's heat treated, and it's glassy as all get out. You know, people probably really like this stuff. I'm gonna sit here and wipe all the blood off my leg from all that shrapnel that ripped across me. What people probably really like about this stuff is because it is so hard. I bet you, I haven't worked a whole lot of it. I've only worked a little bit. I bet, I really want to finish it out with Antler, but I'm curious how the copper is going to run it in comparison. Build a platform here. Let's see. We'll figure it out together. That's a hard rock. Let's get a platform we can really do something with. Batter that platform up. Heck, a piece of rock right there, man. Alright. Let's just work this one edge right down. Let's see. I guarantee you that's why people like it so much, especially for working copper, because it's so hard that the copper really grabs it nice. Experiment just a tiny more, and then I'm going to go back. I want to go back to Antler. I want to run another series there. See how that. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Starts turning to like candy now. We're using the copper, so put that down before we get carried away. Switch back to the Antler. Maybe I'll just build my platforms a little bit higher than normal. Never hurts to do that. Alright. Oh, that one was good. Let's see what we got there. Very nice. Okay. Let's see, brush that maybe a little bit. It's a hard rock, man. Go. We're getting pretty thin on it right now, actually. There's another nice little paper thin flake. keeping my appendages clear of all the rock flying around everywhere. Looking pretty good now. Like stopping to cram one in your finger while you're at it. Where in the heck did all that blood come from? Does that come off my leg? That's the bottom of my wrist. I don't normally bleed very much when I nap, but all it takes is one good leak and you get quite a bit of blood all over you. Alright. Just gonna batter that edge up a little bit. Ping. You can hear, I don't know if you guys can really hear them. I'm sure you hear them hitting, but I mean, those things whiz. There's no wonder that when they hit you, they light you up, cut you open. Just getting really hard to convince me to wear pants in July in Florida. Even in the air-conditioned shop, it's still not like super cool in here. Nice little piece there. And up off the base. Come on. There it is. Nice one. Really nice long. Okay. Alright, a little bit more here. Then we're going to switch to some indirect on it and see how that goes. I haven't even tried any indirect on a tab yet. Bet you I'll have to wallop it pretty hard. Shoo! That's a good one. Yeah, that's pretty nice so far. I'm going to go ahead and build this platform up that I hope to indirect across. Maybe I'll batter it gingerly with the hammerstone. Alright, let us see. Build the platform a little bit more and then let's run some indirect across it and see what it does. So maybe no, it's doing alright, but it's not. It's definitely a hard rock, so it's not quite grabbing like I really want it to. No, it's just not. It's alright. We'll just build a platform a little bit better. I'm probably just going to take a little higher, sharper platform to really get this thing to bite. And what I probably need to do is make sure I focus on not trying to jump right to the middle. That's really hard, especially with indirect. I usually like to start either on the back side or right at the tip and work all the way across. So one flake releases the next. That's usually where I have the best luck with really hard rocks. There, we got it. That one I ran. I don't know if you can see that or not. I think so. So you can see it ran all the way over here. So that's a good start. Clean that up a little better. Sometimes you just gotta plan ahead a little better. Keep dropping it, stinking pressure flaker. Alright, we'll do the same thing on the other side. Really build that platform high. Alright, now let's see. And I'm not going to be able to stop it at the tip because I got a bunch of little trash up here. So I do think I need to probably there we go. Moved a little more. Now we're talking. That ran all the way across from one side to the other. Now we're cooking. Sometimes you just got to get a good start. Yep, that one did too. All right. Just got to get the good start. Another good one all the way to center. Let's go ahead and build the. Notice how you can probably hear it. I know I can feel it inside. My attitude changes when I get a really nice clean flake. It's like struggling with it, doesn't want to work, doesn't want to work, doesn't want to work. And all it takes is that one really good one to release. And that can change my state of mind. And sometimes too, it's like I just figured out what kind of platform it liked. And now I can hopefully reproduce that platform. I'm trying to do here. I got one that's on the other side. Really needs to come off. But tuck that thing in there good. There it is. That's the one I wanted to get off right there. Okay. So I'll build this side back up. I'm hoping, I'm not looking for like crazy sick thin, but a nice thin Pedernales point would be nice. It's already just about thin enough, really. I'd like to have a really nice thin one. There you go. You can see it's just plenty thin. Just looking for that really nice, like wafered out cross section. I'm getting spoiled here lately with some of the other points I've been making as of late. It's like now I want everything to just be beautifully thin. Okay. Working right down that edge. Nice, very nice. And that ran all the way across, and that is just glassy trash right there. That thing, look at that. Right? That's the power of indirect percussion, is be able to turn a somewhat rounded, like a lenticular face, right into I mean, a heck of a thin, flat cross-section. Look at that. For as wide as that is nice. All antler. Well, all antler in what, 2 minutes a tapper. Wanted to test that out. Feeling really good now about what I'm working with here. Just had to switch over to those really high platforms that weren't abraded too much. And that's what this piece of rock really likes. Okay. There's a nice pressure flake there too. It's some good rock once you kind of figure it out. It is dense. So now I'm not going to model this specifically after any particular Pedernales artifact. Mostly I'm letting the rock just decide how it wants to roll, and it might be a slightly modified version because I just kind of do what I want, so don't hate me if it doesn't match exactly what I'm talking about. But like I like to say, I do what I want. Let's get a little bit more up here. Man, we're getting really, really thin. Ooh, almost busted it being silly, going too fast. I didn't have my platform set. When I went to hit it, it slid and I hit it right on top of the dang thing. There you go. Whew! They're coming off in these, I mean, little teeny tiny little razor blades and just digging me up. But it's worth it. You start toughening up and your fingers usually don't get cut. It's just down here in your legs where you'll get hit until they toughen up, I suppose. But a lot of real estate down there to toughen up. My fingers don't usually bleed anymore because they're covered in cuts, but they're usually thick enough it only goes through a couple layers. Come on, man, let's get her off. Last one right there. Alright. I'll clean up this side just a teeny tiny bit. We'll start working the base. Haven't made a Pedernales in quite a while, so I'm trying to remember. I know it's just kind of an evolved Dalton form, really. From a couple thousand years, or maybe just 1,000 or a few hundred even after the Dalton itself. So it's right evolved, at least in my opinion, and studying it from those earlier Daltons. Just the middle archaic version of it. Oh man, that was a beaut. That went all the way across center as well. Good one. There goes that flaker again. I can't help it. I can put it over just right here on the table, but what's the difference if I reach for it on the table or reach for it on the floor? And where I want it's right here. It just wants to slide around. What I need is a nice pouch to put it in, but that's another story for another day. Alright, we are closing in on this thing, and it is really going good, so let us hope and take our time. and really do it right. Much as I don't like sitting through these things super long, and I always feel like you guys get bored watching them. But man, if I rush through them, then I don't turn out anything that looks good. And then if I skip a whole bunch of the video, then I get people that are upset that they're missing a big chunk. Look what happened. That one should have went all the way across. It didn't. That one did. Ooh, that was good too. Come on, right there. Come on. Come on. Do it. Won't do it. I'm gonna break it if I keep hollering at it and hitting it. So I'm gonna hurt its feelings. Break it. Now let's try it. And man, it probably doesn't really need to come off, but there's just like a little high spot right there. You see it? See, it's just a little high spot. Don't like it. I want it off. Sometimes that's the thing that gets me. I know I can put a piece of copper on that. I yank that thing off. No issue whatsoever. But it's also very fun to accomplish it with all the indige tools, just like that one right there. Look at that. Got it. Almost all of it. Not all of it, but almost. Mostly just grinding in that hafting area a little bit. And then we'll take a couple more hits out of that here in a second too, indirect. Like I said, at this point I'm kind of going off a little bit of memory on the Pedernales, so hang with me. I got the book right down at my feet. I should probably at least look at it since I said that's what I'm going to make. I'll do that. Let's do that. It'll be fun. I usually keep this thing around. Good. People ask me all the time about books for identifying and stuff. This is a good one to have. And anytime people send me, I get a ton of, hey, what kind of point is this kind of questions. You know, and when they have one, they've got 100 more that they want to know too. So the best thing to do is look up this book and get it. I do not sell it on my site. I'm sorry, it's not my book, but it's a good one anyway. I'm getting there. If I'm even on the right. Oh, there it is. Fast it up. Hold on. Pedernales. Bam. Yeah. So that's what we were shooting for. Something around there, right? Okay. Think we can get her there. I think so. I'll set the book down here. There's some variations of that, so shouldn't be too hard to find one. It looks kind of close to, huh? Out of this purpley looking Pedernales. Be fun to try anyway. Alright. Let's go ahead and that one right there. That was that piece I told you I didn't want to worry about because I had to get it off anyway from the hafting area. Well, it just made it worse. So I'll have to come in and get it from another angle, I guess. And I got one right here. This one's a toughie. Come on. Nope. She does not want to go. We'll get a little bit of real estate here still to work with, so I'm not too worried about it. Starting to stall on me a little bit because I ground it down too much. There we go. Now we're going to get it off of there. Aha! There it is. Heard that one fly across the room, didn't you? Shoot, yeah. Now we're talking. Beauty. Whoo, boy. Cram that one right in my finger. Good one though. Yes, sir. We'd be setting up if this thing didn't have that little clip piece right there. Man, it would be really nice to shorten it up a little bit because of that. But at the end of the world, it's just rock, right? Alright, we need to get that little troublesome piece out of there. I was fussing with him a second ago. Let's try it again. Nope, she does absolutely not want to let go. I'm ready to drop a bomb on that one, man. Okay. Got a little pressure flake off of it. Okay, sometimes that's weird. Couldn't get it with indirect percussion, but I could get it with pressure flake, and that's silly, isn't it? But crap. Split that thing. Probably see it sitting here sticking straight up. That's a shame. That's what I get, forcing it. So that's a little hint on these things. Don't force the crap out of it. If it's not going to go, don't force it, because you could split the antler, like I just did. And then you'll be upset that you broke your tool. Still works. It's just got half the life now. So, there you go. If it doesn't want to go nicely, don't keep hitting it like I do. I can just pull that out and make a new one and jam it back in. Some of you might not have that luxury if you bought your tool. Come on. There we go. There we go. Just had to really get after it there. And that's kind of the thing with these Pedernales, is they're a little bit undercut. Kind of notched up a little bit. So I'm trying to accomplish that at the same time. A really hard piece of rock. Here we go. This side really likes that indirect percussion stick. That stick is just eating it alive. And that's what we're talking about. Just hit that, and I don't think you saw it. My camera timed out. It's got a little bit of a timer on it, DSLR. And I just hit that with the indirect percussion stick, and I think you just missed it. But see how that popped through? Now this is something that you do see in the pictures and on the casts, and that is, and I talked about it in my Noonan video, because it's actually, you see the same thing in the Noonan stems, are these like bulbous. You see how that's really rounded out? That's really hard to do with a pressure flaker. Not very common. But indirect percussion, that's a really common thing to see. So, and I have a cast of a Pedernales artifact in the house that has those beautifully shown on it, and definitely done in some manner of indirect percussion. Whether it's exactly like this or not, I'm not sure, but this way sure does at least make sense to me. I'm sure they had different ways of doing it for different times and different locations, different tools. Getting really kind of closing in on her here a bit. Might switch out flakers. There we go. Really get up in there good. I got a special flaker I'm not going to show you yet because I'm saving it for a future video. It's going to be pretty neat, so make sure you are hanging around for that one. But for right now, we're just going to run the antler. Just because we don't need it for this one, and I don't want to use it yet. Not quite. Well, some of them aren't undercut. I'm looking down here at the screen. Some of them actually aren't undercut that much at all, so I probably don't have to go crazy with it. Just clean that up a little bit more. That's the problem I run with too, is it doesn't need anything right now. Like, it's just fine, and it would look just like these artifacts that are slightly asymmetrical. But if you know anything about me, you know that I'm pretty OCD with that kind of stuff, and I just love things to be very symmetrical to a fault, really. Whew, almost dropped her. Okay, let's go back to this other flaker a second. We'll clean this base up a little bit more. We'll finish the edge out, and then we will be done. Let's go ahead and pop that right there. I don't find it super beautiful, but it's a nice point, but it's, call it one of my tops. Alright, and then we need to have pretty significantly concaved base, and hope we don't snap it off being silly. Just like that. That's something that I know that you see on these two, is especially, for lack of better words, you kind of call them fluted. And we got a little bit one here. I'll see if you can see that. You can see how it looks like it's kind of got a little flute that runs right up it. That's pretty common as well, and that's from the indirect percussion hitting it and driving the flakes up right up that, like that stem. So this is usually not like just ground out for the fun of being ground out. It's like you're basically thinning this thing while you go. There you go, just kind of did that again, but I got a little fingernail step fracture I don't like in there. It's ugly. It's not bad. Definitely a good, nice little projectile atlatl point. Almost done. Nice little evidence of that. Both sides, little teeny tiny flutes, false flutes, or whatever you want to call them. I don't even know. Sometimes I just like to make words up as I go. And so now we're going to clean up the edge just a skosh. It's looking pretty good. There you go. A little there. It's like I was kind of going up and down, almost grinding that edge a little bit. Still removing some flakes, but for the most part I was kind of grinding it to the shape that I want, like I'm doing right now. You can hear it's got multiple, like, it's not one clean flake, and that's because while I'm doing that, I'm building a platform that I can come along and sharpen off that platform. So that'll give me a little bit like steeper edge geometry as opposed to more blunt from just trying to sharpen a blunt edge. So now when I sharpen it, like my platform will be raised slightly, if that makes sense. So that is looking pretty good. Flake there. Get that tip a little bit closer. It's kind of, again, some of the little tips on that is, grind in some of your shape, especially if you've got if it's as thin as you really want it to be, then go ahead and just grind that shape in that you're looking for. There's no sense in continuing to get thinner and thinner and thinner if you're as thin as you want to be, because then you're just going to run a chance of breaking it. So, alright, that's looking pretty darn good, right? I think that's pretty nice. That's pretty darn thin. That's about what you see with the Pedernales. Pretty darn thin. I got one stupid hang up right there. I wish I could yank that off, but I don't think I can. And it's not a big deal. It's tiny. There's always somewhere to benefit or to improve, right? It seems to be the case. Give me a second. I'm going to just kind of do a little sharpen on the edge, and then we will be completely done. And then I'll find one in the book that it kind of looks like. There's one there. It actually looks a lot like that one, but this one's a little bit smaller. And I think I want, even though it's not necessary, I'm thinking about doing a little bit of stylistic sharpening of the tip and maybe out the sides a little bit. So let me do that while I sharpen it, just because I like them to look the way I want them to look, just because. Like, I almost want it to have a little bit of like S-curve in the edge. Where it comes down, it starts to slope out just a little bit. You see that little bit difference? And then it slopes almost slightly back in around the tip to start making that needle tip. It's kind of like I wouldn't say it's normally your first stage, but you'll see that like the first or second time that a point is sharpened, it starts to have that look to it, at least from my experience in hunting with points and then resharpening them. It's like the point usually gets a little bit more narrow, but you don't necessarily want to take everything off the width, so it starts to dig in a little bit as you strive for these. Like, little trailing edges are oftentimes like some of the most deadly. Like, the side obviously needs to be sharp, but these back sides, that's your widest point. So when they're coming across that with flesh, that's really doing a lot of work. So I always try to put a little bit of extra work into getting those really sharp, and also I want the whole thing sharp, but those really sharp and the tip really sharp to penetrate. And then that's what happens as you start running out of room. You start doing less sharpening in the middle of the blade and more at the tip and more back here by the ears, and so that's where it starts to slope in a little bit, and then it comes out and then slopes in just a tiny bit more around the tip. So just one of those things I've picked up, not because I wanted to do it because it looks cool, but now I do like it. I do think it looks cool. At first I actually didn't like it, but now I do because I've seen it happen organically in hunting with atlatl points. Ooh, that was a nice one. Got a nice fresh hard piece of antler here for a pressure flaker. And she's working out well. And now these Pedernales, they don't have the bigger serrations that I really like in general. And you kind of don't have to, especially with some of this rock that's so dense. You can actually still get them pretty sharp without the heavy serrations. But what they do have that people always need to try to keep in mind is every rock, every point has some degree of serrations. But you're in a time period where they've got really good rock and really good skill, so they're getting to a point where they don't need big gnarly serrations. They can get an edge a little bit sharper than some other points in other time periods without having to have that heavily serrated edge. It's still serrated, it's just serrated much smaller. So you can hear as I'm clicking them off now, I'm not grinding it like I was before. It's still tick, tick, tick. Little tiny, because I'm using refined deer antler to sharpen with. And it was like already kind of sharpened, and then I went back, like I said, because I wanted to add that. So I kind of resharpened twice is what I did, because I wanted to have that slight slope along the trailing ears, and then a little flare in the center, and then thinning back out around the tip, which is going quite well. I'm going to reach up here and see if I can just pop that booger off I don't like, but she doesn't want to go. It's on there just a little too much. Oh well. Can't all be perfect, can they? In fact, I'll try one more time to get that off when I'm all done, because I don't mind, I'll show it to you first. So let me look at it. Yeah, it looks really good. Alright, let's take a look. That turned out really nice, didn't it? And that's pretty much all antlers. That's that one little piece right there. Just aggravating me to no end. And it's not a big deal. You can see it's tiny. It doesn't really interfere with anything, but it's a little translucent under it. So now it stands out. So now it aggravates me. That's a really nice Pedernales point. Now let me pull this up. This one, it kind of looks like this one right here, the bigger one. Alright? But it's obviously a little bit smaller. Find some background for you to see it on. There you go. Very similar to that. In fact, if I hold it out here, it's the same size, but up close to it, it's smaller. Really nice. So I like that. There's like that little small flute coming up the center that I was talking about. That's when it's got it. So put that up. Now what I am going to do, point's done, napped it. I'd say pretty much all with antler. I mean, a couple hits at the top are not a big deal. Let me monkey around here. Just because it's not a, like I said, that's not a fail point, right? That little piece. So let me look. Now is where we're going to go ahead and cheat. I'm going to take this little steel micro flicker and see if I can't just grab that and pop it off. I win. Let me clean that just a little bit more right there. So there you go. See, that's all it was. Just needed a little something I could get a hold of it better with, and that did it really, really well. So hey, if we're gonna cheat, we're gonna do them. Let's go ahead and get a couple more of those little teenies off there. So, perfect. Alright, that's alright. I don't mind cheating that tiny little bit. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's a still an all antler indig point. Man, look at that. That's beautiful, isn't it? Thanks for following along on this one. I know it was probably a pretty long video, but I think it was worth it. What do you think? Alright, catch you on the next adventure.